guys, welcome back to the Spanglish Podcast, your favorite podcast, here broadcasting from San Diego, California, in Old Town, right next to our favorite cemetery in the region. And here's your host, at least one of the hosts, Adrian and Lucas with me today
Welcome back,
again.
guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for inviting on your podcast, which is not a podcast, which is a Spanglish podcast.
Yes, and we are continuing our hospitality series, episode 2.
Episode 2, indeed, it is.
Cool. We're trying to keep here the ball rolling while everything's fresh. And yeah, we have some subjects, different subjects today. What do you think?
Yeah, it was like we just come out with like a little conversation. I think it was about all the opportunities that can come out within the hospitality world. I think, it was a little bit analyzing our background as a chef, as a front of house leader, like analyzing a little bit the different years that we had in this industry and everything that we've learned along the way. And I think what pushed me a lot and something that really awakened me that about our conversation this morning was about how to transmit this to the future generations. And I think, we live like in a internet world, where everybody or a lot of people wants to try to make easy money, to have instant gratification, instant fame. And, I want to keep the flame, I think the idea is to keep the flame alive about our industry. It's a lot of labor, a lot of hard work, sometimes not a lot of recognition. And it's to keep the flame alive, to show and to prove that this industry is actually so rewarding, between the teams that we build, the fact that every day is different from one another, the fact that we have all different backgrounds, that the industry is so rich on itself. And I appreciated the fact that you brought it even further than the restaurant team members itself, but you brought it to the suppliers, the producers, all the people that lives in the background that are not necessarily rewarded and acknowledged for all the hard work they do, to bring quality product on the table. And that was pretty much it. I really loved it, and I really would love to hear more about you and from you about this.
You said something very important, and I was just picturing in my mind. I always go to these scenarios, and I love analogies and stories. So as you were saying, like some people consider it a job. If you think about like the cavemans and the hunter gatherers, they didn't go out there for a paycheck. They were hunter gatherers. So I think crafts and like stuff that we do, the professions and such, it rewards as payment needed. There's regulations and everything, but it's still something that comes with. So if you're a hunter, you're going to hunt something. So you're gonna come back with at least a squirrel or something. So I think it's in some weird way in modern world it was forgotten that you have to be, and then there's stuff that comes with that. Yeah, I don't know. I just picture that in my mind when you were saying it. I think it's important to maybe sometimes use like stories and analogies. It just gets in there, I think, a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think, yeah, 100%. And I think, it's more about fulfillment, because if we're just working for the paycheck in general, I think, it's not necessarily appreciative or rewarding, when you're just counting the dollars, because at the end of the day, the dollar doesn't have any value. Yes, it can bring you like a certain comfort, a certain quality of life, but at what cost, at what price? And I think I personally find my fulfillment in the smile that I see on people's face every single day. How we can grow as a team internally and continue to bond and get closer from one another and continue to speak the same language and have this really intangible phase where we're all on the spirit high and just vibing with the flow, and that we can read each other and anticipate each other's moves. It's like really a show and a performance. And on the other hand, to be able to to make the guest forget for the space of 2 hours their problems, their worries, their taxes, their everything, and we can make them travel to somewhere else. So for example, at Tahona here, we make the guests travel in Mexico, in Wormwood, we make them travel in France, in Paris, and I think there is really like a storytelling somewhere where, we're making the guests feeling so comfortable, so unique, so recognized, that I think this is this beautiful passation of energies that we're passing through ourselves, but also with the guest. And I think this is so much more rewarding than just the money that we're gonna do at the end of the month, and or at the end of the day. because the money is just very black and white, while all those interactions and emotions and fulfillment, are bringing so much more depth into the rest of the day, and bringing us back to why are we doing this as a first place. And I think when we start loving what we do, we're not working anymore. We're just
Exactly.
committing to our passion, continuing on giving, sharing, receiving, and I think it really becomes all this, energy exchange. That is really, I think there is no price for it.
We were talking about this is kind of like also one of the parts or the the kind of the paths that the conversation took, where we were speaking. I was bringing up a concept that I hold very dear to my life, which is entrepreneurship, which is the the growth within let's say like a preset structure. At least that's how I understand it. Growing up, and normally everybody is familiar, I think, with entrepreneurship, where you go all out, and normally it requires a different set of skills. It requires like it's normally like people that are just like all out. Personally, I've always felt more comfortable in the entrepreneur setting, which is it just happens to be, in my opinion, a very very good quality to have when you enjoy working in a place or working within a structure or an organization. Could be profit, non-profit. I mean, it doesn't matter. It helps you pretty much up, become outstanding. It just kind of you kind of pop from the other crowd, and I think that's something that is not really explored, because like recently with all these trends and all this stuff that is happening, there's a lot of people that focus a lot on entrepreneurship, and you I believe that you can be both of them, or you can have a healthy balance of both. And personally for me, I really enjoy kind of growing from within. I just love to kind of create self worlds with inside like like a bigger world. I don't know. What do you think?
But I think it's very clever in a way that you cannot build anything else if it's not strong foundations. And I think by focusing on your foundations and making sure that those foundations are very, very solid, you can build anything you want on top. Something that I realized is like over the past decade, when I was growing also in this industry, I was very, very, very competitive, but not necessarily competitive with myself, but competitive with others. It was a bit this mindset where it was me against the world. I wanted to have my ambitions. I wanted to reach my goals. I wanted to make myself a name. Like no matter what. And this brought me to several countries and incredible experiences. But now I feel like I arrived to a point of my career where I became more at peace. I don't feel like I have something else to prove anymore. I became the kind of leader that I always dreamed to be. And now I'm facing this chapter of my life, which is all about collaborations, and I also realize now that anything that I dream about, I won't be able to make it by myself, and now I became much more open with the world, with other professionals, and understanding what collaboration means and how we can help each other, how we can back up, how we can mix and match different skill sets, to be able to arrive to a common and single goal. And to me, this is like a very, very exciting part of my career now, probably the most exciting one at the moment, because okay, the foundations are solid, like the vision and the values and principles are right. And now I think I just want to surround myself with other talents, that are doing things that are very, very different from what I do, in order to unify our powers and to bring it to the next level. And again, I think compared to what you said and entrepreneurship, and now I really understand the value that all the team members that are working with me, the value that they have, because none of this will be possible without them at the first place. And I think this is the beauty of a restaurant world, is that we're a team. It's like a soccer field, or for those that follow basketball, baseball, American football, is always the same thing, because it's like a teamwork, and we all fail or we all succeed together. So now being able to be at a spot where you can bring that voice, you can bring that peace, you can bring that confidence to the table, and inspire the people all around, to focus on the same vision, because you can always argue about what's wrong, but you cannot argue about the truth, right? And so when you focus on love, when you focus on giving, when you focus on sharing, when you focus on expanding and doing the right thing every step of the way, I think that, nothing can beat that. Nobody can tell you you're wrong or you're doing the wrong thing, because the values are right and the values are straight. And now I can feel really much this empowerment coming from our groups, and I think that we're being carried on by this light and by this positive energy that just want to achieve more things and to spread this to a larger amount of people, and I think this is like a beautiful outcome of what a group of people can build,
Yes.
can achieve all together.
And then it's like this, when like you mentioned, when it's a team, and they, let's say you achieve like this memorable, like, like thing that everybody wins together. I'm I feel like when that happens, it's always everybody afterwards, kind of, it enriches their life, or throughout the rest of their lives, bringing that kind of like, uh, como fulfillment to their new experiences, and making them like better people. And I think it's something that it doesn't have like a price, like a monetary price. And I think for most part, like everybody loves or would love to be like part of a team like that, or part of an experience like that. And it's like, sign me up. We all have that little pirate in us that just wants to kind of ride and be on the best like boat out there, like One Piece.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And it's like a sort of university, and a lot of people are, it's like something that I was thinking like a couple of days ago, is that a lot of kids that are going to the university are putting a lot of efforts because they have been paying, at least in the US, a lot of money to get
Yes.
there. It's like usually like a scholarship is quite between 100, 150K.
Jesus.
You're in debt already for the next 20 years. You haven't even started what you're about to do. And I think what we're trying to teach at the restaurant is like getting paid to come to learn, getting paid to go to school, and again, I think it's really about food, beverage, hospitality, hosting, working with each other, but I really believe that all the values and principles and all the soft skills that we learn in the restaurant world are really things that you can transmute into your private life, and again, I think it's a very important part to learn how to live, because everybody wants to make it, everybody wants to be successful, everybody wants to make money, but not a lot of people learn how to live with or without it, how to enjoy the simple moments, how to host, how to communicate, how to be with others, how to wish the best for one another, and I think this is to me fascinating, because there's so many underrated soft skills that we have from this industry, and I think it's really worth talking about it, because we're not talking about it enough. We talk a lot about amazing restaurants and amazing procedures and how to be financially successful at running a restaurant where the margins are so tight, and but we never talk about the well-being of the team members, making sure that they are being able to grow as much as the business itself. And to me, this is very important, to give these opportunities to people, that everything is possible. I didn't have any diploma. I quit school like very very early, and this industry saved me, and I realized that you don't need any diploma to be part of this industry and to be successful at it. You just need to be curious, to love people, to be passionate, to be to learn how to smile and to communicate with people. That's basically the only 5 skills that you may have already within you, without studying anything, to be able to succeed into this industry. And after that, all opportunities are absolutely reachable. You just need to give it the time, the consistency, the proper focus and commitment, because at the end of the day, we're here to take care of people. And of course, we're not doctors, we're not saving lives, we're not airplane pilots, we're not carrying those kind of responsibilities where we're not allowed to make mistakes. However, the idea of a restaurant is we're just serving food and drinks to people, but how to make something so easy, so complex. And I think this is where we're becoming artists in what we
It's
do.
an art, yes.
It's an art, how to deliver something so easy. We're just feeding people, but how to make it so instrumentalized, to really be able to blow people's mind, touch people's heart. And to me, this is what the whole flame came from.
Yes, it's the difference between making a home movie and going to the cinema and seeing watching a motion picture that's like produced. It's like it's a different scale of things and ideas and input into it. Yeah, that's super cool way to put it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, you said you mentioned something. I think in the last I'd say at least I don't know 20 years, school over a school and profit has been placed over, or schooling over profit has been placed over above everything. And we forget that in the old days, people used to get um, pretty much assigned to a mentor or a kind of like this father figure or mother figure, and they would be taught a craft or a way of living, or entrusted into some knowledge that you only gain through a master. There were no diplomas, there were nothing, and I think it's that hasn't gone away really. It's been kind of forgotten in a way, and I think that's returning because this whole mentality of again putting profit and schooling and diplomas and doctorates and all of that, that they have their own merit, but it's not everything. And I think especially for our craft, our art, that it's based on experiences, and it's still very treasured to, like the things that you learn through experience and how it reaches some of my, I always say this, some of my friends that I know that are the most successful in the, that I consider the most successful in the craft, or in the industry. They first started off empirically. They went through the ranks, and then eventually some of them decided to, like formalize a little bit through school, but they're like 10, 15 years ahead of the other ones like me that started off after, they finish school, and then you go, and then like you learn how to make a sandwich, and it's just, you have to unlearn all this stuff through another 10 years and then relearn. So I think it's sometimes it could be overvalued. And
This is very true. And like the world has been changing so much, I think, over the past, 20 years plus, and even before that, but the scholar system hasn't really changed. We're still teaching the same way, learning the same way. And I think ultimately, like the school, at least public schools, are really designed to make you good employees, to make you understand the world enough so you can get a paycheck, be an employee, be a good taxpayer, and get married, retire, and die. Get kids, get married, get kids, retire, and die. And so we are building followers and not leaders. And that's something that we are trying to preach as well. Is like how to think for yourself, how to create yourself some opportunities, how to think outside the box. And how to use the skills that we learn, for example, in hospitality. We could be anywhere else, and to being able to transmute them with like another set of skills, to be able to really create yourself your own path. And something that I want to add to this is like what they say, your network is your net worth. And for example, when guys, or like guys that have the opportunity to go to big universities, for example, it's not so much about what they teach, it's really about who you're gonna meet over there. It's like
yes, networking.
it's like a certain network, and you're gonna be in a bust of bubbles of people where it's like, especially for those Harvards and all those kind of big places,
Ivy Leagues.
the Ivy Leagues, and you're surrounded only with a bunch of kids that only have powerful parents, and obviously
Votes
they have different
and jobs.
opportunities, and they are meant to be leaders. And something that I realized very early, because as I told you, like I was in 3 Michelin star, I was in celebrity chef's restaurant, I was for nearly 10 years I went in very high places where I met a lot of celebrities. I met a lot of very powerful and influential people, and I was looking after them. And I realized that all those people have the real power, not my employer. My employer, the only responsibility that he has is to pay me on time. That's pretty much it. But all those guys that can afford like very, very, very expensive dinners all year long, that travel the world, that understand what are the real standards, the real competition, and that are used to those kind of standards, these are the guys I wanted to speak to, these guys can fucking pay me all year long if they want to, you know. Like, and at first I was thinking as a private butler, you know, I was thinking about building like a catering company for rich people in Hollywood, all those kind of dreams that popped into my mind from time to time. But I really realized that these people have, um, you know, the real influence. And again, it is to come back with that your network is your net worth. And I think to have this opportunity, at least on the floor side, to meet with all those strangers for the first time and to have this ability to connect with people you never seen before can unfold to incredible stories, right? You never know when you're going to meet those people again. You never know if they have been blown by your service and by the quality of the experience and how you make them feel. Especially that people that have a lot of money, you know, they don't care about the price, they just want a result. They want an end product, no matter the cost, you know. And if you're able to satisfy their desires, if you're able to satisfy their needs, you know, whatever. Some people, they just need somebody to make them feel important, to be listened, to be understood. Some people they can talk to, you know, like all those kind of small things can have such a big impact on the long run, you know. And I think it's not about expecting instant result or instant gratification or expecting to meet the right person right away, but days in, days out, consistent, and always looking for that little luck that's going to happen. You know, it's usually one person, so you might have need to learn like 10,000 guests before you find that connection that say, I want to see you again, I want to meet you, let's have a meeting together, you know. And I think I've been always looking for that opportunity to come up, and somehow it's unfolding, you know. And so I think it's to never stop dreaming, to never stop, you know, believing in that light, because it will happen when the time is ready.
Yes, and you have to put yourself out there, and that's part of the kind of like the reason that we're doing this platform is to kind of share this message of, I think a lot of people have given up on their day to day, and we speak to our industry, but also we've spoken about reaching broader than that, and I think a lot of people have given up on the on, you know, like just very basic stuff, just an exchange, like we said on the last Spanglish
Episode.
podcast episode. We A lot of people just go show up to work. That's it. Boom, television, and you know you're missing out on stuff you don't even know that exists, and it's fulfilling in a way that again you don't even know. It's you have to put yourself out there. Of course, try to, you know, like as maybe it's a process where it's you gotta take a little easy, and sometimes you just jump into the, you know, like just how do you say vacío, just to
Oh,
keep it Spanglish.
oh yeah, or pushed out from the nest, right?
Yeah, yeah, you have to get out there. You got to put yourself out there, and then you know, like also create a network within of safety where you know you might have something to fall back into. I mean, but it's I think it's important if you want to get ahead and you want to you know, create opportunities for yourself. You have to put yourself out there, and then there's also something very important in that, like you have to bet on yourself too. You have to believe it. I have my chef, well, Chef Chris said, you know, fake it till you make it. It's I think it's a funny phrase, but it's also true. Like sometimes you know, you have this imposter syndrome
Yeah.
thing, and you know, sometimes you have to push yourself, push the limits. And for me personally, it's kind of like I try to do it like in a funny way that I can kind of handle, but I've seen that every time I como responsibly get off or out of my own way, I kind of push a little bit further and see like results that, you know, you kind of have in your wild dreams, and then when you realize you're already doing some stuff that you're like, oh,
Yeah, it's
you
like
know,
a
it's
muscle
crazy.
that we have to train, right? I think it's, yeah, it's believing in yourself. I think it's first. And you know, like I was reading the Stoics, you know, like everything about
Yeah,
Stoicism,
yeah,
and a couple of days ago. So it's like a daily Stoic book, right? So it's
yeah.
one page a day that's gonna teach you a quote a day. And couple of days ago it was celebrating each other or be happy for each other, right? And we have to learn how to celebrate each other's success. You know, it's like at the end of the day, we are all at different timings in life. We're
Yes.
all at different stage or stages, and and it's okay that our turn is not coming yet, but to be happy for others, to be genuinely happy, I think it's, yeah, I started to believe a lot about energies and vibrations and frequencies, and when you send the right energies around and when you're genuinely happy for others, obviously it will come back to you, and those people will be happy for you
You.
when you will be succeeding at your turn. So I think it's, yeah, patience and happiness, like I think it's, and not trusting your capabilities and trusting about your dreams. And I think it all comes from curiosity. There is so many things to learn in this industry, whatever it's about food, about beverage, understanding why. It's like something when I was younger, I couldn't listen any of my managers if they were telling me to do something or to think something if they didn't explain me why. Like, if you don't explain me why, if you don't prove me by A plus B that this is the correct thing to do, like, there is no reason. I rather trust my guts and do my way, and always chasing for the why really helped me as a team member, but also as a leader, because now I know that when I explain something, I want to make it crystal clear for the people that are all around me, to make sure that they really understand the reason behind, that this is for their own good. It's not just my ego saying something that you have to do this because I say so. We have to do this because why? Because this is the best way to do, and I can prove it to you 10 times. And at the end of the day, it's all about the outcome. We're serving guests that obviously are paying all our salaries, and without guests, there is nobody, none of us will be here at the first place. So I think it's all in our interest to learn how to put our ego aside, to focus on one single and same goal, and continue to thrive all together like this, and I think collaboration is very important too. We spoke about it earlier about collaboration within the restaurant, and to try to use all the different talents that we have as part of the team, and their personal interests, their backgrounds, their goals, their dreams, because ultimately when you start listening to people, you realize that everybody has something to put on the table. It's not like a dictatorship where only the manager decide because you are on charge. It's like, take the time to listen, because maybe this guy can help you, maybe this guy know better, maybe this have an incredible idea that we can work smarter and not harder. And I think this is what create really this osmosis between the team, and really what make us grow on the long term too. And we have this opportunity to shine as individuals, but also as a collective.
I think that's pretty fair, and also from earlier you were saying, I picked up that it is important, also for us as like everybody. It's a good idea to put attention. Try to from the feedback that you receive, sometimes pick up like what are you good at. Like try to identify that thing that kind of puts you or separates you from the group, so that you might kind of like reinforce that thing. And maybe that's, I always say we wear different hats in different places. So I think, let's say you're the good note taker, just be the note taker of the group, but do it right. Like maybe bring some technology into it, make it more efficient, but just kind of like, exploit in a good way that thing that you're good at in that particular group. Maybe in another group you're like, I don't know, like the gardener or something, and you're like great
But
there.
just try to be
But
the best
just,
in what you do.
yes, it's open your eyes. Like sometimes, I mean, you can always hone your knives or your edge, no, but sometimes it's like there's stuff that maybe it's not for this group, no, or maybe it's not for, like in the current position you're in, or I don't know how to explain it better, but I think it's a good idea to listen to your group. And then sometimes like, I always have this situation, especially in certain settings. I think it's cultural. Dishwashing, just to say one example. Some people might take it as like, oh no, like I'm at the bottom of the chart. No, it's not true. For me, the dishwasher has his own department. They are pretty much
They're managing themselves.
they if they manage to create a very efficient and auto regulate their efforts and be on top of everything, and then just kind of like be awake, and then like being there for everybody else, organizing their times. They have like the one of the most independent operations in a restaurant. If you spot that, that's a big opportunity to kind of have a fulfilling day. If you don't, and you kind of like just go with the general historical consensus, that might not be the case. So I think it the in short, I think the job doesn't make the man or woman or the person. I think it's just an accessory or a tool for you to like live a fulfilling life.
This is very true.
Uh, so and it applies for any craft, any job, anything you do.
You know,
Anyways,
I really appreciate the fact that you spoke about the dishwasher because, yeah, it can sound like you're the bottom of the chart, you're doing the least rewarding job, and it's something that I learned very, very early. It's actually my dad who actually taught me this. Is like, that was when I started in 3 Michelin stars. Like, give the same respect as you will give to the top VIPs as much as you will give to the dishwasher, because without dishwasher there is no restaurant at the first place. It's so important to give actually respect, time and attention to everybody in the team because they're still part of the team. Yeah, at the same time, it's not because you're a dishwasher that you're meant to stay a dishwasher. How many dishwashers I've seen that were ambitious, curious, that have the opportunity to be surrounding cooks, all day long, and then step by step are learning. Oh, tiens, let me slice the tomatoes. Ah, tiens, let me peel the garlic. Ah, tiens, let me try to mash the potatoes. Ah, tiens, let me, and bit by bit, like by building connections, by showing up, by going outside of their comfort zone, boom, they become line cook, they become chef de partie, they can become sous chef, and a lot of actually big chefs started right from dishwashing, like washing dishes for years. Same thing when I started in 3 Michelin star, I was polishing plates and silverware for like 5 to 6 hours a day, but this is also the hardship that you have to come through to understand those foundations to be able to build on top, and I think this is really cool too because there are opportunities everywhere as long as you really want it, that you set your intentions right. And something else that I wanted to pick up about being the best at everything is like same thing when I was just starting in 3 Michelin star 2, it's like we had those competitions of who was doing the best tie, not tie, like, oh, who had the best polished shoes, the one that were most shiniest before service, and we all has those competition of who is the best at what, and there was this kind of healthy competition and we were lifting each other up because we all had something that we were trying to perform and be better than everybody else. And so like this we could actually learn from one another and say, oh, this guy have the best tie, like, okay, how does he do it, how can I try to be as good as him, etc. And I think like he really created like a certain culture of lifting each other up. And I don't remember if we spoke about it last time, but I think it's about transmission, it's about passing everything we know, and I think, like that's the same thing. If I get $10, I give you five, I have only five left. But if I know something and I teach you that thing, I'm not forgetting it, so we're multiplying. And I think the more we multiply knowledge, the more we multiply values, the bigger, the stronger we grow as a group, and this is what really gonna set aside those foundations. Because let's say if you move on to another restaurant tomorrow, you will arrive with that wealth of knowledge, that wealth of culture that you will start spreading around on your next establishment. And I think again we can all benefit from sharing, and I think this is the beautiful part too.
well, with that statement, I think we are moving on to episode 3 next week. Well, I want to thank Lucas again for joining us in this special hospitality series, episode 2 of the Spanglish Podcast. This was a good deep chat. It's still in the air. We still have more stuff to touch, but we're gonna leave you hanging there for till next week.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you, Adrian, for inviting me one more time. Thank you guys for the community for taking the time to listen until the end. And I'm very looking forward to continue that initiative that we have about bringing the lens of hospitality to a broader world, and for you guys to understand what's happening really much in the world of a restaurant, which we don't speak enough. We're like, we see the food, we see what we deliver, but we never speak about what are the insides of what's happening into a restaurant, into a community, and how do we grow, how much do we fight to deliver that show on a daily basis. So thank you very much for being a part of it, and again, continue to share your feedbacks, your emotions. What would you like to hear on the next episodes, so we can continue to nourish ourselves and continue to create greater content for everybody. But thank you very much, everybody.
Ciao, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace. Gracias.